Howdy folks, welcome back to Scott's Automotive Corner, where I explain as simply as possible things you may have heard and wondered about in the automotive and mechanical universe. This video is our next in our series of power adders, and I'm going to talk about superchargers, aka blowers, which is just a power adder to put more air into an internal combustion engine. So get ready to learn everything I know, and I can tell you as simply as possible about superchargers. Okay, so today we're going to talk about superchargers. Now to review, in the very first video we talked about the internal combustion engine, which is just basically a big air pump. Air in, compress it, make an explosion, push it back out. That's all an internal combustion engine is, whether it's diesel, gasoline, or some other fuel. Next we talked about turbochargers, the big pinwheel that we put on an engine to make more air into the engine, make a bigger explosion. Well, superchargers is the next item on our list. Very much like a turbocharger. The biggest difference is a turbo is basically what they call free power. It runs off the air coming out of the engine already. It runs from the exhaust. A supercharger runs from engine power. Basically, it's turned by the engine. So instead of being turned like a pinwheel, it's like a fan. It's like if you have a motor and your fan that you may use in your house, a box fan, that motor is pushing that fan. Well, same thing here. The motor is turning the fan that's pushing air into the engine. Sounds a little counterintuitive, but that's the way we need to do. We need to put more air into the engine. The advantage of a supercharger is the power is immediate, where a turbocharger can take a little time. It can lag. As soon as you hit the gas, as soon as you go wide open on your throttle, you press the gas pedal all the way to the floor. Well, the supercharger is making boost and making power. Again, you're losing some because you're using power to turn it, but that's what it is. All we're doing is, as with the turbocharger, we're just trying to put more air into the engine. More air, more fuel, bigger explosion, more power. And we've talked about air, but I hadn't really touched on that. That's the whole thing. If you know anything about fire, you need air, you need a fuel source, whether it's wood or whether it's gas or whatever it is that you're trying to burn. You take the air away, you take the fire away. You give it more air, you get a bigger fire. That's all we're doing with the supercharger. And you may have seen superchargers, or at least may have heard, maybe you had a car back from the 80s or 90s, a Pontiac Grand Prix. That was a supercharged Grand Prix, or a Super Coupe Thunderbird, something like that. They've been around, they've been in automotive applications. You could buy them. They haven't always been as popular just because they do produce heat. But again, that's all we're doing. Just simply trying to put more air into the engine and make a bigger explosion. So just to review, turbocharger, free power because it runs off the exhaust. Supercharger is the same thing. It just runs off the power that the engine is already making. But it's immediate power. So doing the same thing just in a little different way has a slightly different result. Anyway, I hope I've explained superchargers a little bit better to you and power adders in general. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.